Again, I heard my name being called just a few feet from me in the doorway, and I turned around and my father was standing there.
Wow.
And to start with, and I did get a little alarmed on that occasion, because first of all I was really excited and pleased to see him, but then I realised I was seeing a spirit.
I like to start the conversation with gratitude, because this rises up the vibration of what we are going to do. So,
it's my pleasure.
Sally Burns, you are the greatest medium that I ever met until now. It's a big honor for me to start this conversation with you and let the Italian knows you. How to explain to Italian people that are very skeptical about this word, how to help them to look beyond the veil,
right?
How to train to be less rational and more intuitive to this world.
If I was going to advise a skeptic, someone who said to me, well, I don't believe in the spirit world, one of the first things I might say is, well, I can't not believe, because I've been aware of the spirit world since I was this high. Okay. But I think if you want to actively work to let go of your skepticism, it's good to consider where you've grown up, how you've been brought up. Have you been brought up in a particular religion? And I don't mean that as criticism of any other religion, but many religions do not approve of what we do. And many religions say we should not talk to the dead. My response to that is my belief, well, my knowing is there is no such thing as death. And to try to find your own truth, because even if you've grown up in a family or in your schooling, you've been taught that this is how it should be. There's heaven, there's hell, God will punish you, etc. It never made sense to me. And I think there are many people out in this world who would, if they were honest, say, that does not make sense to me. Okay? And so one of the things is to not deny yourself the opportunity to question that, and not deny yourself the opportunity to explore. And I'm sure even if you believe, or you've been made to believe, that there is no life after this life, or some religions do believe in life after this life, many do, but they don't believe we should contact that world. Find your own truth. How do you really feel about that? And if you don't believe the spirit world exists, ask yourself this question. If we come into this world, and the saying is, we live 70 years and 10, which is to the age of 70, and then there's nothing else afterwards, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And as a child, it never made sense to me. And as a child, I knew the spirit world existed. I knew there was life after death. And even though I would listen to those that said, that's not right, and some would say it's evil, it was evil thinking. Okay. And but I hung on to that because I couldn't lose it, that belief and that knowing, because I knew it, and it was my truth. And so I would say to people who are skeptical, give it an opportunity, explore, don't be afraid to go out into the world and find out more, because they are people who are living according to what they've been told they should believe. But to open your mind to explore, to find out, well, do I really believe that? Or is that something I've just been taught? And so explore your skepticism, explore why it's there, but also give yourself the opportunity to explore about life after this life. Find out for yourself. Find your truth.
For someone is maybe more easy, because feels the other world, like I feel this wood. No?
Absolutely.
I know this table is here. You cannot tell me that this is
doesn't exist. Exactly, and that's how it is for me with spirit. And and I'm sure many people too who are afraid to come into this, and afraid to explore. Maybe because of programming or the disciplines that they grew up in, but also within those disciplines, they are taught to fear the next life. They're taught to fear the spirits. And I've been working now for, nearly 35 years.
Wow.
But even as a child, I wasn't afraid of spirit. Okay. Because I knew they were never hurt me. I knew when I started exploring the spirit world, all I have ever found is love and people from the spirit world wanting to bring comfort, but also that reassurance that life continues. Yeah, and that all of our loved ones, we will meet them again. And there's nothing to fear from that. So I say to people, please go out, explore, find your own truth. And one way you can do that is perhaps just explore that connection to spirit. Because I'm sure many of them, as you said, have sensed spirit, have sensed and even had an inner knowing that there is more. Okay. But they're frightened to follow that through.
And when you was child, what was the first contact, the first...
I used to see, even as a little girl, I used to see misty images go across a room. But I was 15 and when I first really saw spirit, and I saw my father. Because my father passed just before I was 9. And I went down to the kitchen in the middle of the night, it's about 3 o'clock in the morning, and to get a glass of water, and I heard a voice behind me call my name. And I turned around, couldn't see anybody. And I thought perhaps my mother had called me from upstairs, so I went up to see what she wanted, but she was sound asleep. Okay. So I came back down, and to get a glass of water, and again I heard my name being called just a few feet from me in the doorway, and I turned around and my father was standing there. Wow. And to start with, and I did get a little alarmed on that occasion, because first of all I was really excited and pleased to see him, but then I realised I was seeing a spirit, and I sort of went, oh, Dad. But after that occasion I never felt afraid to see them again, because while I was seeing him initially, it was pure joy. Okay. The part that made me feel, oh, it's Dad and he's dead, was the fear that had been given me from other people. Yeah. It wasn't my fear. I had taken it on board because I was taught you should be afraid. But I after that occasion, I lost that fear. I'm not saying I'd want to see people in the middle of the night.
Yeah, of course. But like a horror movie.
Exactly. But I knew that if I should see them, I had nothing to fear.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay, this is good advice for everything in life.
It's good advice for everyone, for anything in life,
yeah.
Absolutely. We have a saying in England, and I'm sure you have something similar. There's nothing to fear, but only fear.
Yeah.
Fear is what creates those issues. And it is joyful when you see your loved ones. But it is, I just need to say, it's very rare that people will suddenly see someone when you're on your own. It does happen, and there are many people in the world who see them regularly, and it's just like seeing your next door neighbour walk around. And so never be frightened. If you ever have a vision like that, or you see something, it's a joyful thing. It's the spirit world trying to let you know we're here, and the spirit world does exist, and I'm still alive, and that's amazing.
Do you think that in the past the people around the world were more easier connected to this world, and now all the technology, the social media, and the movies take us like a more distance, a bigger distance to the other world?
But to the spirit world?
Yeah, to the spirit world.
Personally, do you mean like in daily lives, because they occupy themselves with so much of that, so there's not so much, I'm with you now. I think so, perhaps. If we look back in the history of mediumship, lots more people worked. There was lots more mediums who worked with physical mediumship, and they trusted. But I think that, yes, certainly the more our world has become busy, and the more our world has become commercialized and technology, I think it does take people away a little bit from awareness, from social awareness, which is going to affect the awareness that we have perhaps of the spirit world. People don't sit down in the evenings now. They're either on a computer or watching TV or have gone to the cinema. Whereas if we go back in time, people would sit down in the evenings and they would converse and they would sit together. However, the upside of technology is it is opening new doors for the spirit world to connect with us.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I don't know if you want me to talk about that, just briefly. But you know, we have our mobile telephones, and often people will use that to catch the voice of spirit. And there are certain apps and things that are enabling that connection. But more so for those that do want to learn more, do want to experience and study, technology now enables that for people all over the world. Makes it easier for them, for people who couldn't travel to places such as the college. And I just think it has its negative and it has its positive. But as far as that personal contact and that personal communication, I think it has interfered a little bit.
I was very touched by your son's story of recovery. And if you want to tell us, because many people think that those who have mediumship sensitivity are chosen, you're chosen one from the birth or from the world of spirit. But it's really like this, or can we all develop this ability?
I don't really like the word chosen.
Okay.
I don't like to consider myself as a chosen one. I like to think of it that I've been given an ability that I've been blessed with to work with in this life, which is for me no different to somebody that can create a beautiful work of art, or somebody that has a most beautiful singing voice. That's their ability that they've been blessed with, and this is how I see this. And when going back to my son's story, I was 36 when he came into, I was 31 when he came into our lives, but I was nearly 36 when the day came when somebody said to me, "You do know you are a medium?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And I knew it with utter conviction. And however, throughout my life, I knew, although I was always interested in the paranormal, the supernatural, whatever name you give it, and if I could get my group of friends talking about what do you think happens when we die, I loved it. I was always instigating conversations like that. And so it's a very long story about this person then saying to me, "You do know you're a medium." However, when they asked the question, I knew I was. But I didn't know I was a medium until I was asked the question. But the answer was an absolutely resounding yes. Well, my children are adopted, and my son at that time was about 4.5, and he came to us at 5 weeks old. And from the moment he came to us, every 4 to 5 weeks, he would have a terrible attack of like colic. Now, a lot of babies have colic, but he responded. No treatment could help him. He couldn't. There was no response, positive response, and the doctors didn't know what else to try. They didn't know what else to give him, and these attacks were about every 4 to 5 weeks. They would last 3, 4, and 5 hours, And up until that point, when he was 4.5, I used to look at my hands and I used to think, oh, I wish I was one of those people that could put hands on and take the pain away. And I can't give any explanation as to why I never tried it. But after this time when this person said to me, you know you're a medium, and I said yes, the next time he had an attack, I picked him up off on the floor because it used to be so bad he would just go down, and I said to him, Mummy's going to try some magic. And so I made him lay out straight on the bed, which was very painful for him, and I said to him, just try and let Mummy do this. And I put my hands on his stomach and I just prayed to God. I just said, God, I have no idea what I am doing here, but please use me to take the pain from this child. And within 5 minutes, he was asleep. Not 3, 4, 5 hours, 5 minutes, and he never had it again. It never came back. And what I learned was that that's all we needed as healers in many ways, is just to ask to be used. And ask for that God force to use us to channel the healing energy. Because I didn't heal my son. I just provided the channel for the healing to come to him. But I learned that when we love and we care so much and we feel that compassion for somebody and we ask to be used as a channel for healing, it will work, it will happen.
It's amazing. This is the biggest difference between pranic healing or spiritual healing.
Yeah, that's the main difference. I mean, there are many healing practices, and all of them wonderful.
Yeah.
But the way we work with it here is we just stand as channels. Yes, we teach different disciplines that run alongside it and different understanding. But at the end of the day, my belief is just ask to be used. Yeah. But obviously we live in a material world. We've got to have knowledge, we've got to have rules and regulations, and we've got to follow the law because it safeguards the people who receive the healing, but it also safeguards the healer as well. But the part that I would just like to say, forever after that, for a few years, whenever I had a pain, a headache or something, my son would want to do magic. Wow. And it worked powerfully. I humoured him the first time and I let him do it. I had the most horrendous headache and he put his hands on my head and I felt it just go.
Wow. He was?
He was 4.5.
Okay.
4.5. And I asked him what he thought of when he was sending the healing, because he had his eyes closed. And he said, well, I see the headache like a storm in your head. And I sent in a rainbow.
Wow.
And I'd never told him anything. I hadn't learnt anything at that point. And so working with God, that power of God and spirit, certainly with healing, it's such a natural thing. Yeah. And there is nothing to fear from that. We can never promise somebody a cure, but the healing energy is never wasted. It will help in some way. And I absolutely believe that. And maybe people who are skeptics of this work and the spirit world, maybe that's what they could explore first, the healing side of things. Everybody has the capacity to develop spiritual gifts in some way, but certainly the healing, because all you need to have, as I said, is that caring, is that wish to help, that wish to be of service to that person. And I think everyone has that ability to some degree. It's just that many in the world of spiritualism go on to work with it in a more professional way. Some people want to learn it just so they can work with it with friends and family. But I think everyone does have that ability.
And there's a big message to give to the people.
Absolutely. And again, going back to the skeptics, try it. When somebody you love is suffering, just put your hands and ask God to use you. Just have that faith, and miracles can happen, definitely.
Yeah, I believe
Yes.
that everyone can do it.
Absolutely.
With enough faith. In Italy, the mediumship has no regulation, no insurance. It's like this not exist
Right.
at all.
Okay.
Yeah, but in England it's recognized as a real profession. You have law, you have insurance.
Yes.
Some hospital maybe allow medium to go there to have healing or something else.
Yeah.
So can you tell us something about this?
Yes, we do have laws and regulations, and again, that is to protect the public.
Okay.
And so we come under a law, and I can't remember the full name, but it's basically trade descriptions.
Okay.
And so we cannot tell somebody, I can prove the spirit world to you. All we can work to do, if we're doing communication mediumship, is to bring the evidence that can be sufficient to bring some faith to somebody.
Okay.
So we, whilst I know the spirit world exists and I know loved ones come around, I can't prove that to somebody. And so there are laws in place. So if I said to you, I can prove the spirit world to you, and I can't, you could then take me to court. You could say,
Okay.
You said you were going to prove it and you haven't. So the laws are there mostly to protect the public first, but it also protects us. And providing we stay within the boundaries of the law, we are safe as well, because it has to be proven that we have done something wrong. And so we are also insured. We are enabled to be insured because, we've had instances in other countries as well where a medium or a healer has perhaps not behaved appropriately. And so we have to have insurances that if you then accused me of behaving inappropriately, especially with the healing, I then have that protection that enables me to have legal support. But again, we have laws and rules and regulations, and providing we abide by them, there is no problem.
Okay.
But sometimes some people can misunderstand, and they can misconstrue what has been said and what maybe actions have been taken as well. And so it is for our self-protection. And this is coming, and we had the Witchcraft Act. And please, I can't remember all the dates.
No.
But we had the Witchcraft Act, and that was repealed, which is when the new laws come in that are more like trade description. Okay. And
I think it's a big step.
It is, yes, it is.
In a normal society, open
Absolutely.
society. Yeah.
And something needed to come in more like that, because if we go back in time, we have where mediums would have to be in secret, they'd have to have their circles in secret, because it was against the law, because you could be accused of being a witch.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And
Back in medieval.
Back in medieval, well, not so long back actually. And if I'd have known you'd got that question, I'd have got some dates ready for you. I have known them, but sometimes things slip. But there are now so many people in our country who are exploring this and who are working as mediums and as healers. And sadly, as in most professions, not all have all of the knowledge and the understanding and the sense of responsibility that is needed. So any medium that wants to work professionally, they do need to know the law, because they need to know the law as much as we do. People who work at places like the college, and we often work abroad. So it's a good thing that we have. It makes us feel safe.
Yeah.
It certainly makes me feel safe that we've got these laws and that I am insured in case of misunderstanding. It's a good thing, but sometimes there will be, as again anything, there will be those who are not concerning themselves with that. They will do what they want to do.
Thank you.
They're at risk.
What happens in the hospital? You can work
Okay.
there?
You can't go into hospitals and do mediumship, as in communication mediumship, not to my knowledge. However, over the last few years, many hospitals now are starting to allow healers to go in and do some healing for patients. And many doctors in our country now, I've known quite a few who, not personally, but I've heard people talk about their doctor has suggested they go and find a healer.
Wow, the doctor.
Yes, the doctor. For a long time now, doctors have been recommending meditation.
Okay.
But recently, I haven't this year, but over the last few years, people have said, my doctor has said, find a healer.
Wow, really
because they've
open-minded.
recognized that the issue with that person is more on a spiritual foundation.
Okay.
That they could do with help in that way. And I think that's wonderful.
And
I think it's wonderful that hospitals are now opening their door. And I can't remember where it was, but there is one hospital where there is one particular healer who is hired or employed to go as a healer.
Wow.
I cannot remember where it was. I heard this maybe 4 or 5 years ago, perhaps a bit longer. So things are moving forward in that respect.
Yeah, it's great.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I must just point out, healing is a holistic medicine. It's an alternative, okay? And so anyone that is thinking of moving forward to work with healing, when you work with people, so if you were taking medication for something, you have to continue that.
Sure.
So it's a complementary, not alternative, complementary.
Yeah, work together.
Yeah, they work together, yeah.
Is the spiritual world that calls and help us evolve? Or is it we who have to do the work to get in the tune with it?
Okay. I think it's a combination of the two.
Okay.
And I think most people, they will reach a point in life where they feel more drawn to exploring that truth and exploring the truth within them. And people may have believed in the spirit world, hoped for the reality of the spirit world, but never have that calling or that pull to find out more. But I think for a lot of people that come into this understanding or exploration, there's a time that comes when there's a pull towards that. Okay. Now, many people will start to explore the spirit world, perhaps through the loss of someone to spirit.
Yeah, by suffering.
Yes. They will go to see a medium to find out more. Even if they are skeptical, they may go and see a medium. But that's a step. That's a step they may be taking on their journey. Furthermore towards this, not everybody who go for a reading and perhaps hear from a loved one, it won't inspire everybody to follow this this way and to develop. But it will waken up something in a lot of people as well. But not everybody comes into this through grief. I didn't.
Okay.
I was quite happy in my life when I met this person who said, you do know you're a medium. But what I came to learn was that although I was happy, for me it felt like the universe or spirit had an input, because it was the time for me in my life to start the journey of self-healing.
Okay.
Very much so. And I feel it could be either. But for some people, they will come here. We'll often have students who say, I don't know why I've come. I don't know what I'm here, but I just know I needed to come to this place because I've heard what you do. And so it's a mixture of that soul's energy guiding you to the fact that it's time to start exploring. But also I do believe sometimes we can get a little poke or a prod that says, no, explore this more, okay? And it can be a mixture of the two at the same time.
Okay.
You're wakening up, and then the spirit world guides, helpers, that God force inspires that through the soul.
When I read the Esther Roberts book, I saw her story, her suffering.
Yes.
And you tell us during the lesson that the most of medium live the first part of life with something.
I do.
That is suffering, and that this is training to the next part.
Absolutely. Not every medium will have had a tough time, but I would say a large majority, if not most, will have had very difficult times throughout their life. It can be from childhood or a little bit later on. And I think I told you, I always thought I had to have been evil in a past life to experience what I'd experienced. But when I came to that awakening that I was a medium, suddenly everything made sense.
Okay.
And because I realised it was not punishment, I wasn't a bad person, but I came to realise it had a purpose. Everything I had experienced had a purpose. And I knew within that one moment of that sentence or that question being asked of me, everything fell into place. I didn't really even have to think about it. Everything fell into place. And I can only say it was like a moment where I suddenly knew why I was here. And I suddenly knew why I had experienced everything. And we often hear people say, oh, you're only doing this spiritual stuff because you're running away from a lot of bad experiences. And I don't. I feel you turn that round. We've had a lot of hard experiences because it's our training for if we're going to do this work. Because it opens the doors of compassion, understanding, of empathy, sensitivity, and just that pure caring for other people. And that you can help people who have experienced the same or very similar to yourself. So I became grateful on that very day, in that very minute, I became grateful for everything I'd experienced.
Yeah, and this is a big message for everyone to understand that everything you live for every life is
absolutely
as a sense to the next step.
Absolutely, and never to see it as punishment.
Yeah.
That's not God. God doesn't punish us. Yeah. What we have is opportunities through those difficulties to learn something, to grow. But it may not be until a bit later in life that realization comes to you. Yeah. And you can turn all those negative thoughts into positive ones and use it for good.
It's a life alchemy.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly.
What do you think that is the common mistake that the people make when they try to work on their own spiritual growth or try to communicate with the spiritual world?
Speaking from personal experience, I think the most common thing is impatience, the wanting to hurry, the wanting to rush with it. And for some people, that development does take place quickly. But for most people, it's important to allow it to unfold and in its own pace. So yes, go to groups, go to courses, come to places like the college, sit in circles. But it's important to take time. And what a lot of people do is they want the practice, they want to do the mediumship, but they're not interested in the knowledge that goes behind it, because mediumship is a religion, it's a science, and it's a truth. They're only interested in the mediumship, but they don't become aware, and sometimes a little while after, that it is also very much about the self-development of the person, of getting to know yourself, and including some of the things we talked about earlier, knowing yourself, knowing who you are, knowing the truth, and taking the time to do the self-healing is sometimes a step that a lot of people don't realise they need to do, or they wish to skip. They don't always understand the value of that. Yeah. And I guess throughout this week you've recognised my passion for that subject.
Yeah, a lot.
Because it is so important. And developing the mediumship and developing yourself are equally important. And it's important to understand that as you do one, so the other grows, and vice versa. And the two are combined. You can't separate them. And a lot of people I've known who have not worked on themselves and the self-knowing, the self-healing, but they've gone full on into the mediumship, they end up having burnout. They end up in an emotional state that disables them from continuing, and then they have to stop.
Because the ship was not big enough.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think for me, probably that is the biggest mistake, not recognising the importance of knowing you and knowing what your needs are. You have to look after yourself.
It's the same in every single area of our life, but in mediumship
it's important because mediumship isn't just about being a medium. It, as I've said before, it's about that journey back to yourself.
Would you like to tell us about one of the most impactful contact case for you?
I've had so many really impactful events of giving communication from the spirit world. Unfortunately, I can't remember a lot of them. I've given contacts where I've walked away with my mind blown and thinking, my gosh, wow. But one I can share, which I do remember, and I'll share this one because it shows just how intelligent the spirit world is. And it shows how if we allow ourselves to be used by the spirit world and work with them for mediumship, how it can help heal so much. And there's an example of many years ago where a young lady came to me for a reading, for a communication, evidential communication. And she was very sad because her grandmother had passed a spirit. She was also sad because her mother was devastated because her mother had gone to spirit. So there was the 3 generations. Yeah. And although her mother loved her dearly, her mother wanted to die. That's how she worded it to the daughter, because she did not. The mother did not believe in the spirit world. She did not believe her mother still existed, and although she loved her daughter, she didn't want to exist in this world without the presence of her mother. And so the daughter came to me, and I gave her the contact from her grandmother. Okay. Fortunately, it was her grandmother that came and not somebody else. And everything was correct. Her life, how she was, how the relationship was, what she looked like, all the evidence you could hope for. It was a lovely reading. But right at the end, I said to this young lady, and your grandmother's telling me your name, her name was Rose. And this young girl said, no, it wasn't. This was in the days when I wasn't so self-assured with my mediumship. Okay. So I thought I'd got it wrong. But I went back to the grandmother in spirit and said, your granddaughter says your name was not Rose. So are you really her grandmother? And I could hear this lady's voice in my mind saying, you tell her I'm her grandmother and my name is Rose. So at that time, as I said, I wasn't quite so self-assured. So I said to the young lady, I'm still getting the name of Rose. Please go home, ask Mum if perhaps you can find that name somewhere. But about 6 weeks later, this young lady phoned me to tell me that she and her mother had been going through grandmother's papers to sort everything out. And they found grandmother's birth certificate. And written on the birth certificate, they saw that grandmother's name was actually Rose. Nobody in the family, nobody knew that was her name.
That's huge evidence.
Yes, so the young girl was so excited to tell me, because it not just changed her life and her belief system, although she had some belief, it totally changed her mother's life. And her mother, through that piece of evidence, started to live life again, was so happy because she knew one day she would see her mother again. And for me, sorry?
This is healing.
It's healing, and for me, that's what it's about. It's about us working on behalf of the spirit world, that we can bring that kind of healing to people in this world. And I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I've got much grander stories than that, but I can't recall them. It's crazy, and but I have had some beautiful experiences. And
I remember a story about a biker that you
yes
met casually.
It kind of takes us back a little bit as well to the law and the code of conduct and the code of ethics. And so we have a code of ethics too, that we would not go around just tapping people on the shoulder and saying, oh, I can see your father standing behind you. Exactly, because we could terrify them. And so it's not a practice that we should do. And I've never done that, but it's happened 4 times in the 30 years, well, more than 30 years I've worked with mediumship. And I had been working in a town called Scarborough, which is a 5.5-hour drive from my home. And it was a nice drive, but on the way home, there was a certain stretch of road where there are 2 Burger Kings.
Okay.
I never stop at the first one. I always wait for the second one. And this particular time, I was driving home. I could see the first one, and I thought, I'll be stopping soon because the second one was only about 10 minutes apart. But while I was thinking that, I found myself turning into the first one. And I'm turning into the car park and thinking, what am I doing here? Why have I stopped here? I much prefer the second one. So anyway, I was in the car park. I thought, I'll stay. I'll get my lunch. So I went into the restaurant. It was a beautiful day. I ordered what I wanted to eat, came out into the garden, and because it was so nice, the tables were all full. And there was only one table where there was a space, and there was one person sat there, this great big, he must have been 2 meters tall, at least, full biking set on, great big chap, leathers, etc., beard, moustache, and I sort of thought, okay, he looks like a Hell's Angel, but Hell's Angels do a lot of good work in England. So I had no problem going over and asked, do you mind if I sit on the corner? And he said, no, that's fine. So we were eating, and he just looked up at me, and we sort of said, oh, hello, and he said, are you travelling to or from somewhere? He was very nice. And I said, I've been travelling from Scarborough and I'm now off to Norwich. And, have you been on holiday? I said, no, working. And then I said to him, are you on holiday? Or he said, no, he'd been on some kind of bike ride or something with people. Okay. And so he said to me, what work do you do? So I kind of looked at him and I thought, Hell's Angel kind of chap. So I just looked at him and said, weird stuff. and he said to me, I like weird stuff, tell me more. So I thought, okay, I'll tell you. So I did. I told him that I worked as a medium. And he said, well, I kind of heard of mediums, but what exactly do they do? So through questioning, slowly he became more aware of exactly what I did. And while I was talking to him, I was sitting there and I became so aware of his father standing behind him.
Wow.
But because of our code of ethics, I wouldn't just say, I can see your father. And because he was so interested, I knew it was okay to say to him, if I could see somebody with you, would you like to know? And he said, yes, actually, I wouldn't mind. So then I talked to him about his father, and I described his father. I described why his father was with him and what he wanted to say. And what he wanted to say to his son was, you must let go of feeling guilty that you were not able to come and see me before I passed because of can't remember what the reason was, but his father wanted him to know he can't live his life with this guilt inside him. And I looked across at this man that I was telling him about his father, and this 2 meter plus biker in all his leathers was sitting there in absolutely floods of tears. And because he needed to hear that from his father. It was so important. It was healing, as you say. And he was so grateful. However, I feel that this was one of those occasions when there was a divine guidance, a guidance by spirit. Who knows, maybe his father knew I was headed in that direction and joined me. And because I really did not know why I had turned into that car park. But he was so grateful. And because all mediumship is about healing. It doesn't matter if we're giving a spirit contact, or if we're doing hands-on healing or distant healing, or if we're speaking philosophically. It's all about initiating healing. That's the ultimate purpose of mediumship. And I think possibly if we talk about the skeptics again, if they can truly understand that, they may be more open to it. And also people who are afraid to connect with this, if they can understand it's all about healing. You know, that's the only reason we work with spirit. In my profession, I don't tell the future. I don't want to know my future, because my philosophy is that we are here to live a life that we learn from. And every choice we make, every single day, every single moment, is is how we should live. It's our responsibility. Our life is our responsibility.
We have free will, but also
we have free will.
Responsibility
Yes.
of our actions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And sadly, there are mediums who will feed, if you like, that need for some to be told all the time what they should and shouldn't do. And that's not my way. My way is, if I work with the spirit world, if I'm bringing information to somebody, I will know that it's what is needed to help them make their own choices and their own decisions and come to their own healing journey. And in many ways, when we work with spirit, it's in the role of a therapist, a counsellor, and I just think that's wonderful.
Yeah,
all
amazing.
Healing, all mediumship is about healing.
And I love healing.
Yes, yeah.
I have a great respect with all profession that comes to people to help and heal the people in the world.
And there are some wonderful books out there. Maybe somebody who is interested but feeling scared could read some books, read good books, not the silly books. You know, people, you mentioned Estelle Roberts. The very first time I read her book, she became my hero.
Yeah.
Because this lady did lead a very tough life. Yeah. But she never lost that capacity to love. She never lost that capacity when she discovered her mediumship to use it to help people. And she did lots of wonderful work. But like many of us, she did have a very, very hard time. As I said before, it's the training. It's the training. And it's all wonderful, really. I never lose that sense of joy in it and that sense of awe. And I think if I ever lost that sense of joy, then it's time for me to retire. But that's for me, that's the amazing one, because that's the one that made me say, wow, I need to explore this more.
Okay.
That's what happened. Set me on my own healing journey. Okay. And that part has to be done as well as for the mediumship. The healing journey for yourself is about you living a happier, healthier life, not just about being a better medium. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much. You are so inspiring, and I know that the people that are listening can be more open-minded to this world.
I think what I would just say is, if you ever have a feeling in your heart and you feel your soul wanting to know more, not necessarily just about the mediumship, but about the bigger picture, about your role in this world. Many people question, why am I here? Who am I? And exploring the spirit world and the philosophy of the spirit just for that purpose is invaluable. We actually have many students. I've had many students myself at home who don't want to become working mediums. But they come and they learn about spirit and even the communication because it helps them understand. Yeah. And it brings them to a different place within their life. So you don't have to want to be a working medium.
Of course.
And certainly everyone, as we said at the beginning, they're capable of being healers. As with all skills, there are some that will develop different types of healing. There are some that may be a stronger channel than another, but everyone has that capacity. Yeah. Because we're all spirit. We're spirit living a physical existence.
Yeah.
And
not physical body that sometimes exactly. Remember that as a soul.
Yeah, exactly. I always put it, if you go to the moon, you have to wear a space suit. If you go deep sea diving, you need a diving suit. To live in this life, you need this suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Luigi. It's been a pleasure talking with you.